So, for the past three seasons, the National Rugby League has taken our season opener to the United States to play in Las Vegas. Now, the NRL will be doing this for a number of different reasons around growing the game, exposing the game to new markets. I suppose in the United States, we're looking at a population of 300 plus million. Obviously, we want to get more eyes on the game, but we also want more players to get involved and to play the game. So we want to speak with an everyday American, an athlete. We're going to speak to a multi-code athlete, AJ Holmes, who's got a little bit of a background in rugby league. He plays for the Cleveland Outlaws. He's also played rugby union and American football as well. AJ, thanks so much for joining us on WCBH.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the invite, Cam. Thank you so much.
As you saw in my intro, I'm really looking forward to this conversation because America is such a huge potential market for rugby league. And although they're two different games, the NFL and the NRL, there's a lot of great crossover, and one of the great crossovers that I really like is when our season finishes and we're looking for more football to watch, but our season's over. Well, the NFL has just started, and so you'll find a lot of rugby league supporters like myself pivot straight into the NFL and then have a team to follow during our off season. And by the time the Super Bowl wraps up, it's just about time for rugby league season again. But can we start off by giving you the opportunity to introduce yourself and give us a little bit about your background?
Yeah. Well, glowing introduction. I really appreciate you, Cam. But as you so eloquently said, my name is AJ Holmes. I am I guess, a multi-sport athlete. I started off with American football, and then I got introduced to rugby union through my coach. He is from Bolivia, actually. And then I got introduced to rugby league later on. So I mean, I have a love for the game, and the contact is great. No helmet, no pads, no problem. So
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about the no helmets, no pads a little bit later on. That's really interesting. A Bolivian rugby league coach. And for the listeners in Australia, you'll be picking up on what AJ is saying. He's calling it rugby league and rugby union or league and rugby. And you can just hear in the terms that you're using, you've got a knowledge and a love for the game as well. Now, you're from Cleveland, and if I've got my NFL geography right, we've got the Browns, the Bengals, the Steelers, the Bills, and the Lions all in a you could probably cast a net over them. Um,
yeah.
yeah, who's your NFL team?
Actually, my NFL team is the Lions. I know I'll probably catch a lot of flack from, the Ohio people, but yeah, the Lions are my team. But like you said, it's a ton of great football that's just right here, driving reach. Like, I don't know, like you can pretty much spit or toss a rock and you'll hit another team.
Very different from where I'm from. I'm from Darwin, top of Australia in the tropics, and we've got such a small population. We don't have national codes based in Darwin. We get one national rugby league game a year. The Dolphins are bringing up a game once a year now, and they'll do that for the next 3 years. And we get two AFL games. The Gold Coast Suns are bringing games up, so we're small. And now the Detroit Lions, I've got a thing for jerseys, and I particularly like the blue jersey that the Lions run around in. I don't mind
Yes, sir.
the black jersey as well with the blue highlights. And I watched a documentary a couple of months ago on Amon-Ra St. John, is it? He's a
Yep.
an
St.
outstanding
Brown.
player.
St. Brown.
St. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, yeah, an outstanding athlete, multilingual athlete as well, I think, English and German from memory. So, yeah, a lot of great sporting talent up there. NRL season
Yeah, so
opener.
I mean, it's just the fact that you're just so knowledgeable about, even individual players is kind of just it blows my mind. I think I might be one of the least egotistical Americans when it comes to sports, but I don't know. I wanna, just applaud the respect that you give American football. And yeah, like the caliber of athlete that the system that we have here in America produces is very, very high, even on an amateur level, with programs like AAU and travel leagues of sorts. Even the pee wee sports are actually highly competitive. So it really just it breeds a great athlete. Honestly, a lot of
It
professional athletes talk about it.
it certainly does, and we'll pick up on that in our conversation today because I think there's an opportunity for rugby league there where athletes have gone through the programs, may not have made the NFL, but still interested in being involved in football. And I think there's
Mhm.
an opportunity for rugby league to try and attract those tremendous athletes. We're talking big, fit, fast athletes, athletes who've got a lot of training and conditioning behind them. Maybe we can attract them into either rugby league in America or even attract them down under to join one of our teams and try a different code, but a code that they could really excel at.
I believe it. I believe there's so much potential, and who are we to not try to usher in some of that potential into reality?
And you're right about the training that sits behind those players. Been watching the NFL Combine recently, and explain it to me if I've got it wrong, but is this where sort of your college athletes who are in the realm of being drafted, they go away and they're put through their paces, they're weighed, they see how fast they are. They've got to run particular drills and plays and all the coaches and organizations get a chance to really scrutinize who's on the card for the potential draft. Is that right?
Yes, that is right. It's an opportunity to showcase not just raw athleticism in things like bench press and 40-yard dash, but a myriad of skills challenges that challenge the mind and the reaction of athletes and college athletes, I might add, like as you said, in game time situations. So, I mean, anything from routes or drills where receivers have to be able to lightning fast off a turn receive a ball that's probably going about 60 or 70 miles an hour. And yeah, I mean, it's great to watch, and the fact that these are like some of the top prospects and that not all of them get drafted, you know, they some of these athletes, they get into free agency actually when it rolls around for draft time. So it's crazy seeing the wealth of athleticism and skill.
The Watching some of the footage of the routes that are being run and how sharp these players are, they can turn on a dime, and how impressive they are to throw the football and hit the target, and if you're receiving the football to I don't know, a split second after you turn the corner and then you receive a very fast football on the chest is very impressive. If we can get some of that talent into rugby league, we can build further what our great game already produces, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just seeing how my own skills have translated. I mean, the sky's the limit. Sky's the limit.
The
Hon
NRL season opener has just taken place in Las Vegas. We saw an English Super League game and then 2 Australian games. There was the Knights v Cowboys and the Dragons versus the Bulldogs. Did you get a chance to have a look at the games? And if you did, what were your thoughts?
I did. I was able to catch a couple of them and on live stream, and thank you so much for, you know, giving me that opportunity to do so. I'm actually kinda quite shocked that I didn't know about it before that, but it was great, exhilarating. I think that it's kind of a disservice that not more people know about it, honestly. Like, especially in the down season of the NFL, and the only thing coming on is probably just the combine. I think it was a great way to engage with rugby league in a way that I hadn't previously, and I don't know, become kind of sort of a fan.
And this is a great point that you make there. The Vegas thing is huge in our world, in Australian rugby league world. Like we know that it's coming up where which teams are going to Vegas because only 4 teams get to go to Vegas each year. This is huge, but we need to make sure that it's not just Australians who are jumping on planes to go to Vegas and enjoy the Vegas experience. We need to attract people like yourself, Americans who play football. Let's get you to Vegas and get you talking about the sport. Then you go back to Cleveland and you go back to college and where is it? Morehouse you go back to and you start talking
Yes, sir.
about the great sport that you've just seen, and then suddenly more eyes are watching rugby league.
For sure. It's I think it's really just all about just whether people are in the know or not. It's the matter of who's willing to share, and how willing are you to share it. I got a love for this sport that was bred out of people sharing it with me. So
Just before we move on from the Vegas game, it was played at Allegiant Stadium. We're very jealous of your football stadiums.
yeah.
Have you been to one of the sort of the big stadiums, Allegiant or SoFi or Mercedes? Have you been to one of these?
I've had the pleasure of being to Ben's. Crazy experience. The roof actually it contracts just like a camera lens. So it's crazy being in and seeing a roof move like that, and seeing a full stadium of people no matter what's going on, whether it's they have a soccer club there. Well, I know you guys probably call it football, but there's a soccer club in Atlanta that comes, and when they play at the Ben Stadium, I promise to you, you can literally see people walking from parking probably miles away to come to the game. And when it comes to stadiums like Allegiant and SoFi, I haven't had the pleasure of going in person, but just from what I've seen, like a whole stadium that has a logo with a fountain built on the outside of it, crazy,
Wow.
crazy.
There's a lot of terms that we use differently. We talk kilometers, you're talking miles, we're talking kilograms, you're talking pounds. But the one thing that we can agree on, soccer is soccer.
Yeah,
And we try to use the term football when we're talking, I suppose, with people from Europe, from Asia, and from Africa. So we sound cultured, so we sound knowledgeable. But Australians and Americans, we both call it soccer. So we're on the same page there.
all right.
Um, Buffalo Bills, we were talking stadiums the other day when we caught
Yes,
up,
sir.
and another documentary that I watched is the Bills are building a new stadium, and their current stadium, as you know, is that open roof stadium, and
Yes,
because
sir.
they play those snow games, and it's such a strong home ground advantage for a team, let's say, that comes out of Florida and they've got to go up to Buffalo and play a snow game. They're building a new stadium and they're not putting a roof on it. They're going to keep it open so they continue to play in the cold and the snow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a central part of, as you said, their game. Like the culture out there in Buffalo. I don't know. Though, like America is like, it's America. We all love football. It's really regional. So, Buffalo being not only on the water but on this like eastern seaboard, you get a ton of snow. And if you've ever been to the Midwest, like Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, we're all on the water as well, but we're all on lakes. There's something called like lake effect snow. So
Hmm.
it's like it's pillows of snow, like just dumped out, like somebody cut open a pillow and just shook out the feathers. And it's an experience that you really can't replicate without that true feel of the cold, of the snow, of the the true football weather, in my opinion.
Oh, I come from Darwin. It's a very hot tropical place. It's hot all year round.
Man.
I'm currently traveling in Spain. It's 8 degrees Celsius. I looked it up for you before jumping on this call. 46 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I think this is really cold. I'm not used to this weather, but
Mhm.
those sort of areas that they get a lot colder than 46, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, a ton colder. Honestly, probably like a week and a half ago, it was probably snowy and maybe 15 degrees. So, and this is March. So it's definitely a culture shock, when you come over here for a Bills game.
Yeah, what you can probably work out is that I love talking about America, American culture, and NFL. Now, this is meant to be a conversation about rugby league, so I'm going to do my best to sort of pivot back towards the rugby league. But I suppose that's the power of marketing the game so well and getting your game, American football, the NFL, into Australian subscription services. So I watch KO. KO is where I get most of my sport, but because NFL's got a real foothold in KO now, people like myself who really couldn't explain the down system 2 seasons ago, we now can because we now watch and love the NFL, and that's what rugby league's gotta do in the US. We've gotta make those inroads. Let's bring it back to your journey into rugby league. Keen to know about what position you played, the club that you play for, the division that they play in, all those sorts of things about you, the athlete, and the rugby league player.
Oh yeah, of course. I appreciate that. So if anybody has seen any of the promo pictures, I am kind of I'm a slim guy. So, I am a back typically at the wing position. Now, and that's in league. In terms of union, I have played fullback and wing, and I've practiced in a lot of different positions, but I'll only talk about the ones that I played in. And honestly, how long have I been playing? Let's see. I started with American football. That was in middle school, and then in about what was that? That was like 10th grade. So maybe I was 14. I got introduced to union, and playing 15s was crazy for me because I didn't know that many people would be on the field at one time.
Mhm.
And not only that many people on the field, but for everybody to have not only their own space, but their own place to play. And when I got introduced to league, that was even a culture shock because it's way faster pace of play. And for me, it was more like getting used to being in the action at any second, not just as a part of a set piece. So that was a little bit different for me.
It's interesting to hear you talk about the differences in the games. Just you mentioned that you're a slim guy and you play the outside backs in league and union. I looked this up again, I did my calculations. I'm about 132 pounds. So you'd be bigger than that though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, just a little, just a smidge. We're in the same boat though.
Yeah, okay. So you don't play those power winger positions. If you're playing wing, you're playing more the fast, evasive, skillful winger position. That's right?
Definitely,
Gotcha.
definitely.
Yeah. And look, we've got wingers of both descriptions in the game and do very well. You know, you've got your big power winger who will be close to 100 kg
Yeah,
in our language, who could easily play in the back row, but they're big, fit, fast, but they run over players. And then we've got this collection of wingers who probably more what you're describing yourself as, that, thinner, fit, fast, very athletic. I'm thinking Xavier Coates. You may or may not know. I'm going to send you some Xavier Coates highlights
Please do.
after we get off, because like he is, I suppose, probably the number one of that of those lighter wingers, just really athletic players, and just score some amazing tries. I'll send I'll send those highlights through to you. Okay, you mentioned before no helmets, no pads. What did your friends and family think when you said, "Right, I'm dropping the helmets, I'm dropping the pads, I'm going to play union, I'm going to play league"? Did they think you were crazy?
A little bit. I think that it was more so shock that I guess a guy as slim as me would commit to something like that. Mm, Funny story. One of my grandmothers, actually my great grandmother, she watched me play in my senior game at my home stadium, and she watched it. She cheered for me. At the end of the game, she came up to me and she said, "Hey, I don't ever want to watch that again. It was too anxiety inducing." And I was like, "You know what? I respect it. I respect it." Because, I guess seeing somebody who's probably 155 soaking wet run through 3, 4 people and have dudes hanging on to their legs is probably not a sight that a grandma wants to see.
Look,
But
I think that's just the role of mothers, grandmothers, great
oh, yeah.
grandmothers of saying that as well. Uh, but one of the good things about league and union, you can play the game at any size. You know,
Facts.
whether you're halfback or wing or hooker, very different body shapes and sizes to playing a lock forward or a front row forward, etc. As well. And as you know, the more you play, the more you're able to time your runs, the more you're able to anticipate what's coming and design your game a little bit around those sort of things
Definitely. Definitely.
as well. Yeah, and you mentioned the differences between league and union and American football. You know, that league of continuous play, up 10, make the tackle, get back 10, up 10, make the tackle, get back 10. Or if you're in attacking for your set of six and then chasing the kick downfield. Very different to the NFL, American football, where you'll often have depending on your division, your offensive, your defensive, your special teams, and at the
Yeah.
end of every play, there's a little bit of a break to reset.
Yeah, it's that pace thing, that was a really great, like, segue because I feel like that was, like, the hardest thing to adjust to, but it made play way more enjoyable for me, and I think that was probably also one of my problems in watching American footballers, like, we have all of these breaks and all of this downtime, and I wanna see somebody hit somebody,
Yeah.
and, I guess I would say the rugby way allowed me to become a more efficient and, effective player in terms of plays or downs, whatever game I was playing. It definitely sharpened up how I was able to not only react, but respond as an athlete and as a good sport.
So when you were playing American football, are you in the offensive or the defensive side?
I was on the I played defense, so position called safety. So
Our fullbacks?
I yeah, it's kinda similar to fullback. I play free safety and strong safety as well as cornerback, and cornerback is pretty much like wing, at least on the defensive side. I played some wide receiver as well, but, all the slim guy positions, I played those as well as, actually line. Played DN at one point when I was, like, maybe 135 pounds, which is,
Yeah.
kinda crazy, so
Have to make some tackles there. So this weekend in the NRL, it's round 2. If you wanna watch the games in America, what do you need to do? Is it on free to air? Do you need a special subscription? Do you have to buy it from the NRL or one of your big sporting subscribers, ESPN or one of those? Have they picked up the rugby league? How easy is it for you to watch the game?
In terms of, like, actually watching games, I have to do a little bit of legwork. Luckily, you helped me out with just giving me some resources, i.e. KO, and but, I mean, stuff like, specific Amazon Prime channels,
Right.
uh, and then, I don't know, maybe some, like, really, really obscure, maybe, kinda shady pirating sites sometimes have rugby streams, but I mean, honestly, kinda depend on the goodwill of people who love rugby on YouTube sometimes.
Well, the NRL's got wires around this that you're able to just type in NRL highlights, etc., and they've uploaded highlights of games, and they put them up not long after the game concludes as well. So you're able to get your fix for free and legally through NRL. And there's also the NRL.com, but the NRL on YouTube. And I suppose the rise of what people do on social media around putting clips as well. But that's good that you can get it. But it sounds like we need to do a better job of making sure you know that it's there and that it's available and that it's a great product to watch. Now, Vegas is, one of the global homes of entertainment, but is it the heartland of rugby league in the States? If I was to ask you, where should we where should we invest our time, our money? Where should we actually take a game to? What region is really going to really grab a hold of rugby league?
Mhm. In my personal opinion, I would say the South, honestly, and that would just be anywhere from Tennessee, Georgia, Louisiana, honestly, Florida too.
Yeah.
And, just great sports cultures, but also some really great grassroots rugby just going on. Shout out to the Little Leagues. They are in Nashville, Tennessee, and also Cleveland, Ohio. They do a lot of great outreach and just education in terms of getting the youth excited about something that isn't just a sport that they know about, but getting them active too.
Now, you mentioned Tennessee. That's the home of the Volunteers, and this is something that I really love watching their highlights. So this is a university, and when they're playing football, they pack out their stadium. It looks like it must be close to 100,000, maybe 60, 70, 80, 90,000. Everyone's wearing orange, everyone's screaming Vols. Like, this is a sporting heartland, isn't it?
Yes, sir. It really is. And I mean, just understanding how just a game can bring people together. I mean, that's just why like the South, I think it's an untapped gem, especially for like a market like America and just what league can do here.
And a few weeks ago, I caught up with Cavante Moses, who plays for the Atlanta Copperheads. They've moved from Florida. That team's moved from Florida into Georgia now. So there's certainly rugby league taking place down there. And you yourself, you go to college in Georgia?
Yes, I do. Attend Morehouse College, Atlanta, Georgia. You know, go Maroon Tigers.
Yeah, great. And what are you studying?
I am studying applied physics and mechanical engineering.
How good is that? Now, Morehouse, that's a fairly famous college. Yeah, I've heard of it, and I think it's featured in a few TV and movie series over the years as well. So, how
Yes,
long?
sir.
How long until graduation?
A couple years, and then I will be getting a master's in biomedical engineering.
How good is that? NRL. Have you got a team that you follow?
Not particularly just yet, but I'm looking at the teams and everybody is they have their own particular style of play. So I'm kind of just trying to fill out who feels at home for me.
Now, we've seen some Australians come into the NFL, particularly from Australian rules football. They've ended up on special teams as punters. And Jordan Mailata, who played rugby league for South Sydney Rabbitohs in the lower grades, has just won a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles last season. Let's try and flip the table on that. What do we need to do to entice American footballers down under to play?
Mm, shoot. Honestly, I think it would just be like knowledge, like letting people know because just as there's punters, like you just said, who are in the league who are doing really, really well from Australia, I think that it's really just letting people know and getting in early too. There's tons of great collegiate talent. We were just talking about the combine. There's tons of D2 athletes who end up going D2 not because of lack of talent, but just spaces. There's just not enough D1 spaces who get all of the attention that they earn. And I think it's just there's a treasure trove of athletics, of skill, of willingness. Sometimes all it takes is just sharing the love of the game to have somebody else love it too.
And what about yourself? You graduate in a couple of years after you've done your masters. Any chance that we can get you down under to maybe watch an NRL game or even play some ball?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely lacing up my boots for sure. Yeah, actually.
AJ, it's been so good to talk to you today about rugby league, about your career to date and your studies as well. If there was a parting word that you sort of could give advice to the National Rugby League in Australia on how to grow the game in the United States, what would it be?
I would say don't ignore the little guy, the grassroots programs that already exist, the communities that are already out here. All it takes is a little bit of support to get a movement going and really enact on something that's marvelous, and that's sharing the love of league with everybody else.
Fantastic. Look, it's been so good to talk to you. As I said at the top of the interview, the National Rugby League, we've taken our season opener to the States for the past 3 years. And just hearing you talk today says to me that the game is growing in the States, that we're heading in the right direction. There's a lot more work for us to do, particularly around the marketing of the game week in, week out to the everyday American athlete. We've been talking with AJ Holmes, multi-code athlete, American football, rugby union, rugby league, plays for the Cleveland Outlaws. AJ, thanks so much for joining us on WCBH.
I appreciate you, Cam. It's been a pleasure.
There we go.
Touchdowns, home runs, and slams.